The blueprint, study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to talk about NXT from May the 10th, 2022. No significant news or notes to be had here, so we can get right into the show. Joe Gacy kidnapped Bron Breakker last week. That made 2 kidnappings on NXT last week, which now puts NXT just above AEW Dynamite in the kidnapping central hierarchy, just below Mexico. Still more people get kidnapped in Mexico than anywhere else. But that damn NXT parking lot, it's sure catching up. It's like every kidnapping outside of Mexico happens in the NXT parking lot. But this one was actually from the ring. So Joe Gacy, who cut a promo later on that says, well, he cut a promo via the camera saying that him and Bron and all of them and everybody, we're all in this together. But he's got to go this leg, this chapter of it alone. And then he leaves Bron Breakker in the middle of nowhere and laughs maniacally into the cell phone. Later, he comes out for a promo wherein he reiterated that Bron Breakker is now alone. It then said that he opened the door for inclusion to everyone. But only 2 men separated themselves from the pack. Only 2 men have decided to show themselves, have proven themselves worthy of standing beside him. And that these 2 men will become the faces of change. And that Bron can be part of this change to receive eternal joy if he decides to join them. If not, affliction and hardship will await everyone who resists. Joe Gacy is a maniac. He's a cult leader, which is great. Now, with Joe Gacy now having a cult, the amount of factions in NXT has gone up again. You see, we've got Diamond Mine, that's 1. Legado del Fantasma, that's 2. We got Tony D'Angelo and his family, that's 3. We got Briggs, Jensen, and Fallon Henley, that's 4. We've got Chase University, that's 5. We've got, and I'm counting stable as 2 or more members. There's another stable out there. I said Legado del Fantasma already. Oh, Toxic Attraction, that's 6. There's got to be another one. I think there's another male stable, but yeah, I said Diamond Mine already, didn't I? Okay, yeah. So there's like 6 or 7 stables in NXT. There's kidnappings every week. It's getting kind of wild out here, man. It's getting kind of crazy. Now, Bron Breakker, of course, is going to say no to joining this organization. This is similar storyline to NXT. It's not to NXT. I'm about to say NXT. It's to CM Punk's Straight Edge Society, where he wanted Rey Mysterio to join the Straight Edge Society. It seems like Joe Gacy is going to go that same route with Bron Breakker, where we're going to go the Bron Breakker has to join if he loses to Joe Gacy or something or other. That ought to be fine. That ought to be fun. Gacy actually has heat this time. They took their time getting there, but he actually has heat. There was a shut the hell up chant. Significant amounts of boos. So he's finally starting to hit his stride. And the character is finally starting to be a little bit more focused. I like Joe Gacy because even though his promos are kind of cryptic and kind of vague, but we do know that there is a point to all of this. That, you know, he is trying to change NXT to make it more inclusive. His version of inclusion, however, is going to be somewhat confusing because, you know, what he's parodying has a similar problem with the paradox of inclusion, where it's inclusion by exclusion, which of course means it's not inclusive. You know, you're creating an us versus them side of society. And that's what Gacy wants. He wants an us versus them, while at the same time saying that we're all in this together and we all can find, you know, grace and eternal joys and all these beautiful things. But at the same time, you know, he knows that certain people will not join and those people will have to suffer and face affliction and hardship. So I get it. I get the Joe Gacy character. I like it. It's a little standard for Braun Breaker. I would have liked for him to do this with somebody else first. I do want to see who these guys are that he's got with him. I'm very interested. There was a thinly veiled shot at Harlan when he said these two guys stood up and the rest are gone. Because we know that Harlan was his first follower, but Harlan is gone now, which is very unfortunate. All right, so the second segment was Toxic Attraction defending the World Tag Team Champion, or the NXT Tag Team Championships, against Roxanne Perez and Wendy Chu. Toxic Attraction won the match. I didn't understand why Roxanne and Wendy Chu even got a title shot, but I'm guessing this has something to do with the burning hot concrete of last week and the hot tan, which was, I guess, worthy of a tag team title match. It makes no sense to me, but, you know, I'm not the booker. It is what it is. Anyway, Toxic Attraction wins, which was the right decision. Wendy Chu gets pummeled after the match, and then she gets bullied and uggo-shamed, as Mandy Rose says that Wendy Chu will never look like her. And then they called her a loser, and basically kicked dirt all over her. What happened later was Toxic Attraction went and they started bothering Indy Hartwell. They talked to Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell was still looking all forlorn and sad at her cell phone as she scrolls through through pictures. Mandy Rose says that she understands what Indy Hartwell is going through, and that, you know, she knows that it's very tough. She wanted to lend some support. Indy Hartwell starts talking about how she feels like she lost everything, and that there's nothing for her in NXT anymore. And then Mandy Rose is like, "Oh, look, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I think you misunderstand. No man has ever left Mandy." Then they called her ugly and called her a loser as well. And Indy Hartwell was pretty upset about this. Of course, we know that they're playing it up. That's the angle that they're going with, is that Dexter Lumis left Indy Hartwell. That he maybe they ought to just pull an angle and say that they eloped. That Dexter Lumis ran off of Persia Parada, and that just make it scandalous. Like they just left together, and now they're living together somewhere in Zimbabwe or some shit. Who knows? Anyway, it seems like Indy Hartwell is next on the list. She hasn't been doing anything in a while, so sure, why not? You know, it seems pretty random for Mandy to just walk up on Persia Parada. I mean, not Persia Parada, but Indy Hartwell of all people. You know, she was just sitting there looking sad. You could have left her alone, you know, but bullies gonna bully. It's what they do. So, this was fine. This was fine. Grayson Waller goes shop therapy, because Tiffany Stratton took him shopping so that he'll feel better about losing to Nathan Frazer. Then they got all amped up and started dissing Chase University as Tiffany Stratton called them Chase U tacky. Then Grayson says that he's eventually going to get Andre Chase one-on-one. Tiffany Stratton volunteered to be in his corner. Saray overhears this, I guess because she watches the show. She follows the product. Finally, somebody who actually follows the product. She runs over to Andre Chase and in Japanese tells Andre Chase that Tiffany Stratton is going to be in his corner, in Grayson Waller's corner. Therefore, it should be made a mixed tag match so that she can be in his corner. Now, because she's speaking Japanese, Andre Chase has no idea what the hell she's talking about. Now, we get subtitles, which is great. But Bodie Hayward all of a sudden speaks Japanese. So Bodie Hayward starts to translate. And Andre Chase is surprised that Bodie Hayward can understand Japanese. To which Bodie Hayward says that they have a Japanese department. They have a foreign language department. And he's taking a foreign language class. And Andre Chase is like, there's a foreign language department? So that was pretty funny. Then the mixed tag match was really fun. It was kind of sloppy. Tiffany Stratton and Grayson Waller were defeated by Saray and Andre Chase. Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward were a little concerned that Saray might actually wrestle in her school uniform. And they questioned this. And as they were doing so, Saray clutched her necklace and walked through the magic tunnel. And when she came through the other side, she was dressed as Saray, the Warrior of the Sun. To continue this, to create some continuity, rather, Andre Chase's shirt was changed blue, and Bodie Hayward was turned into a cheerleader which included him having pigtails and a cut-off t-shirt. It's absolutely ludicrous. And the crowd is chanting blue shirt at Andre Chase because his shirt is blue. And the match itself was a fun contest. You know, the finish made Saray look like she was about to get beaten again by Tiffany Stratton and her flippity-doo-dah Vader bomb. She got her foot on the ropes. Then Bodie Hayward started to blow his horn. It distracted Tiffany Stratton, and Saray wins with a roll-up. And Saray with Andre Chase, I'm not sure if I called this or not. But the foreign exchange student. I know I was talking about it for the last 2 weeks. I said Nathan Frazer would probably be the foreign exchange student. But Saray as the foreign exchange student, it works. You know, I like it. It gives her something to do. She has been feuding with Tiffany Stratton for a little while now. I'm wondering we're going to get, you know, I think she's lost to Tiffany Stratton twice already, I think. So I'm not sure, but I'm certain that Andre Chase and Grayson Waller are going to continue. I just can't believe how over Harlem Bravado is in front of this fucking audience. I just can't believe it. Harlem Bravado fucking sucks, and these people love him. I can't wrap my brain around it. I know that's the power of, you know, having a decent to good character. You know, people will actually buy in to your shitty wrestling and your boring personality. But he's actually doing very well as the sort of Bobby Knight style professor in NXT. He's funny. You know, he's really good at this. So while I hate Harlem Bravado with everything that I am, he's doing good. All right. So the Creed brothers, they went up to Roderick Strong to complain about his interference, saying that, you know, the Viking Raiders were undefeated in NXT, and he knew that. And this is a shameful way for them to get the first loss and for the Creed brothers to win. And, of course, Roderick Strong is like, look, a win is a win. You guys should be lucky. We should be celebrating. But then said that he's going to introduce a new member of Diamond Mine, and it is Damon Kemp. My dumb ass thought it was going to be Shelton Benjamin or something. I don't know why I thought it was going to be Shelton Benjamin. But something kept, I think when he said the University of Minnesota, I was like, oh, Shelton Benjamin? Like, he would be great as like a, you know, a coach down there. You know, he could play the coach role very well. Like, that would have been awesome. But Damon Kemp, you know, he was in NXT UK. He seems to be bland wrestling guy. No real discernible personalities yet. So hopefully this helps. You know, hopefully this helps him get a personality. We'll see, because it's hard times over in Diamond Mine Land now. With the voice of it being gone, everybody's talking for themselves, and it ain't exactly going well. Anyway, the Viking Raiders said they respect the Creed brothers for not accepting the tainted win, and that they were undefeated in NXT, and they will be again, even though you can't. It's like being a virgin twice. Like, you can't do it. You can't do it. They said they were undefeated and they will never be beaten again, and that next week Ragnarok awaits. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. If you say so, boys. Ivy Nile had a challenge. It was like a fitness challenge. This thing was hilarious because every time Ivy Nile talked, again, I just saw roses and bubbles, and I just think that her room has like the fluffiest of pillows, and she got teddy bears. She sounds like the sweetest girl ever. I mean, just listen to Ivy Nile's voice. Even when she's trying to sound tough, she sounds so sweet and kind and generous. Like, she's the greatest woman ever. She looks like a bulldog, and she's all short and stocky and everything. But when she talks, she just sounds so sweet and innocent. Like, she should never talk. She should never talk. Let her body language speak. Anyway. Ivy Nile had a physical challenge where it's her versus an entire group of men. And this thing was about separating the men from the boys. And essentially, you go until you drop. It's an endurance test. And she says, as they were doing push-ups, I will be the last one standing. By the end of the show, of course, she was the last one standing. They did push-ups. They did jumping jacks. They did lunges with weights. They did pull-up with chains. They did the heavy ropes. And Ivy Nile crushed all of the men. She's in better shape than all of the guys. It is what it is. What can you say? I think they did a similar thing with Bianca Belair where they did the EST thing where she was faster than a lot of the guys and she was stronger than the guys and all that kind of stuff. So they're doing something similar with Ivy Nile to keep her busy. I would have liked for them to stretch this out over the next several weeks. But I get why they did it all in one night because they wanted to really showcase her in a way that was very unique without her having to wrestle. And her character is basically just, she's a workout monster, you know, that she's a physical specimen, a physical freak. And that's perfectly fine. But when she talks, she just sounds like daddy's little girl. And I'm just sitting here listening to her try to be super tough. And she just comes across like, give her a head pat. Like she's so adorable. She's super adorable. All right. So the Women's Blackout Tournament actually happens tonight. It begins tonight. They introduced all of the competitors. I don't know why they did that. Then they got into the first match. Sloan Jacobs, who is the Notorious Mimi, versus Fallon Henley. Fallon Henley wins the match with a running knee strike. It was an interesting contest because this felt like it was something from NXT Level Up. You know, like I really could have just tuned out here. It felt a little long. I get they want to give Sloan Jacobs some time, but she is not over. She has not talked. She has not, you know, really gotten herself into this thing. Like the whole point of this obviously is to get over people who are not already over, but they should have done more time building her up and, you know, telling us who she is and all that kind of stuff. So the match felt like it was kind of long and the crowd didn't really care. Later in the show, Ariana Grace, who is the daughter of Santino Marella, wrestled Nikita Lyons in the first round of this tournament. This was a much better match and people were very interested in this match because Ariana Grace, of course, being the daughter of Santino Marella, was, you know, very interested. I think they flubbed her age a little bit during the introductions where they said she was 25. I think she's really 27. So I think they kind of scaled her down 2 years as if it matters, but they did that anyway. So nice for her. She broke out an kind of vice in this move and it looked really good. You know, her Anaconda Vice, it looked pretty solid. Of course, she gets spin kicked and pinned by Nikita Lyons, who is the, of course, eyes-on favorite to win this thing. Look at the brackets and try to make a guess. All right, so we still got Roxanne Perez versus Kiana James and Lash Legend versus Tatum Paxley. I think we're looking at obviously Roxanne Perez defeating Kiana James. She has no reason to lose to her. And of course, Lash Legend defeating Tatum Paxley, even though it probably should be the other way around. I'm still going to go with Roxanne Perez winning the tournament because I still think they're going to have her win the title. Nikita Lyons, even though she's the odds-on favorite, I think they want to Cinderella this thing. And I think her losing in the finals would be perfectly fine. And but I've been looking at all of the videos, the TikToks, and anything that involves Nikita Lyons that stumbles across. I haven't gone looking for anything. I haven't been going booty hunting for Nikita Lyons. The shit's like a magnet. It just comes to me. People on my timeline, it just comes to me. And I looked at this woman, and I just got the most evil concept just popped into my head, and I have to share it with y'all. Because remember when we was talking about all that booty Toni Storm had, and then she got to the main roster and they said she had to lose weight? Something tells me they're probably going to do the exact same thing to Nikita Lyons. Something tells me today she's going to go up to the main roster. Someone's going to look at all that ass and all them thighs and say, this girl is overweight. She needs to lose weight. And then they're going to take her off TV to fucking lose weight or something like that. Something is telling me that they're going to fuck this up. They haven't even done it yet, but it's just something telling me they're going to try to get her to lose weight. Now, I understand she is a big, and I'm talking wide. She's not skinny. She doesn't need to lose any weight. I'm telling you, if the girl got meat, just meat, she's stacked. I just hope they leave her alone. Just let her do her. You know, as long as she's not like morbidly obese or anything like that, she should be fine. Okay. But I'm still going to go with Roxanne Perez winning the tournament. I just don't see any reason why you would give it to Nikita Lyons. Yes, she's the face of the NXT women's division right now, but that's the reason why she shouldn't win it. You know, because she doesn't need it. She's already over. So give it to somebody who can hopefully be elevated, you know, by the honor of wrestling Mandy Rose and winning. Nikita Lyons is going to get her flowers on the main roster. Just like, well, hopefully, if they don't call her fat and everything first. Because that's kind of what happened with Bianca Belair. You know, she kept getting very close and then she would fall short and then she get to the main roster and they treat her like she's superhuman. So, that's that's a little weird, but there they go. All right. So the breakout tournament happened. It was kind of tiresome, but it was what it was. Santos Escobar, gloated about AJ Galante being kidnapped, saying that he shouldn't have been at the meet. And once he showed up, he became fair game. And that you don't get in Legado del Fantasma's way and walk away, let alone walk again. He sent Cruz to get the car, which was a huge mistake because Cruz walked out there and got jumped by Tony D'Angelo and his boys. And they beat the tar out of him in that damn parking lot. Then they shoved him in the trunk of a car and drove away. Later in the show, Santos Escobar was kind of miffed that Cruz did not come back in a timely manner. And they went to the car to find that Cruz was missing. So Santos calls Cruz's phone, and Tony D'Angelo answers the phone. They, of course, give some quips at each other about AJ Galante being missing, and that Cruz is probably in the same place AJ Galante is. Of course, Santos Escobar said, no, I don't think so, because your boy is in complete and total shambles. Tony D'Angelo then goes full Robert De Niro in Untouchables. I want this man dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burned to the ground. I want to go around and piss on his ashes. Then he flips the table and everything. It was absolutely hilarious. Hilarious, I'm telling you. Tony D'Angelo flipped the tables. They agreed to fight next week, like men, after they let each other's guy go. So AJ Galante is going to finally be free after spending a week in a flower pot or whatever the hell he was stuffed in. And Cruz Del Toro, who I thought was going to get murdered and sent to the main roster or something like that, is apparently now going to be able to walk away free too. And so this was hilarious. This is hilarious. Like, NXT is killing me. Whereas like one part high school drama, one part crime story, one part cult horror movie, one part romantic comedy. It's like, it's got literally everything in it. It is so chaotic. Like, this show just has no rudder. It's just going hard every week. You know, it's working though, because these characters are really, you know, starting to, you know, work. You know, like, the only thing I don't like about Escobar and Tony D'Angelo's feud is that there's no babyface. Like, they're both heels. They're both assholes. You know, like, Tony D'Angelo made a deal. Well, he lied for, you know, about this whole thing, you know, about his boys. His boys attacked Santos Escobar. Then Escobar lied and said that he wasn't going to do anything and they were going to walk away from this amicably at the meet. He then immediately shoves AJ Galante in the trunk of a car, and he ain't been seen hide or hair of since. So they're both assholes. And so it's a battle for supremacy. For supremacy. And I don't mind it. I like this. It was actually pretty funny. So I'm enjoying the Escobar, Tony D'Angelo nonsense. It doesn't mean that it's great, but it just means that it's funny, and I find it very interesting. Tony D'Angelo needs a female in his group so that Elektra Lopez can have... This would have been perfect Persia Parada, right? Like, her name was kind of Italian-ish. She could have been great as an addition to Tony D'Angelo's group. Maybe there's another woman on the roster that can actually fill that void. I think Ariana Grace. Why not? Because Ariana Grace it would fit because her character could be similarly Italian to her dad's character, Santino. Now, I'm not saying go cartoonishly Italian with it, But if you do her as sort of a mob wife, that would actually work out a little bit, I think. You know, why not? What's the worst that could possibly happen? She gets kidnapped? Well, everybody gets kidnapped in NXT at one point. They kidnapped a huge mountain of muscle named Braun Breaker. Everybody getting kidnapped. Amari Miller is back. She didn't die in her match with Lash Legend, even though they thought she did. She's wrestling Alba Fire, the Kaylee Ray. They did a good job of explaining why she changed her name to Alba Fire. Wade Barrett says that something was lost in translation since she came from the UK, and much like, you know, Edge when he returned, or Rhea Ripley when she joined Judgment Day, she's trying something different to get a different result. And she's going back to her roots, and her roots is Alba Fire. I don't know why that would be. Alba Fire, of course, wins the match. It was kind of rough, though. It was pretty rough. Solo Sakoa locked Trick and Mello out of the building. I have no idea why. Later on, Solo Sakoa went out there to cut a promo. They kept chanting Uso at him and distracting him. He's not very good at this promo stuff because he was very easily distracted. He said this is supposed to be Trick and Mello's time, but it's my time now. Doesn't care who's going to be the number one contender for the North American title or who's going to be the winner of the North American Championship match, because Mello is now getting a singles match, and says that he got next. Cameron Grimes comes out, gets booed. They chant "You got lucky" at him. These people are just so goddamn fickle. It's disgusting. It's literally disgusting watching these people be so fickle towards our boy Cameron Grimes. Anyway, he said he respects Solo Sikoa, and then after he beat Mello, Solo Sikoa has his word that he will be next. Solo Sikoa is then jumped by Trick and Mello, and then Cameron Grimes comes in there to make the save, and we got these reluctant partnership between Solo Sikoa and Cameron Grimes staring against Trick and Mello. That ought to be an interesting tag team match at least once. I don't want them aligned with each other a lot. Nathan Frazer was hanging out, still being a goof. You know, he's one of the my dream. He's still being a goof. Talking about how he's on cloud 9 and he's still a fan. And then Zion Quinn walks up to him and gives him some more advice to keep his head down and to run straight. Nobody knows what that means. Nobody understands it. Nathan Frazer actually makes fun of it, you know, and says, I don't understand that. What does that mean? Wesley came into the scene and says that why don't he run straight into him? And then Zion Quinn was like, I already beat you, bud. And they agreed to have a match again. The funny thing about this is that Nathan Frazer says something about it being an American thing, and he didn't want any smoke. He's just saying, like, hey, maybe it sounds like an American thing. But isn't Zion Quinn from some other country? Isn't he like Canadian or something? I don't know. Zion Quinn is, he's in the gutter. He needs help. He needs help fast. I think the main roster is really going to do well for him. Because he's big, he's jacked, he looks cool. He has a very cool look. You just have to find a voice for him, or a personality. You know, a persona. Being the big guidance counselor, the big mean guidance counselor. I don't understand why he's a guidance counselor. Like, why is he that guy? Why is he the big dude who's giving people advice? Like, why is that happening? It just comes out of nowhere. Like, he should have took Karrion Kross's spot as sort of the doomsday guy. You know, that would have been so much better. Either way it goes, we're going to get Zion Quinn versus Wesley again, which seems to make no sense to me considering Zion Quinn beat him so handily the time before. Von Wagner and Robert Stone. Von Wagner, ugly mug, was on my television. He looked like he's made out of granite in the face. Robert Stone says if you step to Von Wagner, you will get put on the shelf. Then he talked about how they injured Jensen's hand, which I didn't see. I actually probably miscalled that on my review. And that, you know, or you're going to get injured like Akam and Jiro. Just led Akam and Jiro to attack Von Wagner. He came out of absolutely nowhere and started hitting him. And it had to be separated. That was interesting. That was surely something. That was surely something. All right, so the main event of the show was Cora J versus Natalya. Cora J says that she's not the same girl that Natalya DM'd about a year ago. She's not the same girl that Natalya cheap-shotted about a month ago. And that she's going to prove she belongs in the ring with a Hall of Famer like Natalya. And then they go out there and they have the match. And I think the match was actually pretty good. Cora J definitely needs some help when it comes to selling, but she's also very, very young. So she'll get over it. You know, she'll grow into it. Referee stoppage for Natalya. She wins with the sharpshooter. Cora J actually put Natalya in the sharpshooter early in the match. I think that we should have had Natalya reverse it. Like, when the first time Brett was put in the sharpshooter. But I think it was Owen Hart, and he countered it, showing that there can be a counter to the sharpshooter. I think that Natalya should have showed equal proficiency with the sharpshooter. By when she was in it, she should have countered it. But, whatever. Cora J went from screaming and crying 1 minute to not being able to move the next, which is 100% not good passing out. Like, you don't pass out by, You fade. You know, you're like, you know, you fade. You don't go from screaming and crying to nothing at all, you know. But they did a good job of not, you know, having the girl get beat. You know, she didn't submit. She didn't tap out, which is, you know, probably would have given Natalya a more substantial victory, but they gave her sort of the moral victory where Cora J fought valiantly but still lost. Okay, there was a handshake and a hug at the end. I didn't need that, especially considering I get real tired of all of these. I got choked out, I passed out finishes, and then the person is up 3 seconds later. Like, I know they do it in MMA, but why not, you know, milk that? You know, she passed out in the sharpshooter. Let her lay there for a little while, you know? And I know in MMA guys get choked out and then they back up 10, 15 seconds later to do the whole arm thing, you know. But this is entertainment. Let's be a little bit more dramatic. Let's draw that out, you know, draw that out. But, it was fine. It was a good match. So the women owned the entire ring tonight. They just had women's matches. No men's matches. There was only a mixed tag match. So it's the closest thing to a men's match on the show. I know that's going to make some people perturbed. It didn't bother me that much. Because it seemed like, you know, it made sense. I didn't feel like it was being forced upon me. And then the guys were not eliminated from the show. They still had a lot of segments. They still got their stories over. They still did stuff. They just left the ring to the women. So that's fine. I didn't have a problem with it. You know, so there, I mean, I think NXT certainly could have done better with some of the women's matches. If they were going to do something like this, at least make sure like Sloan Jacobs or something like that is actually over to worthy of her TV time. But that's about it, you know. But let me know what you guys thought. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.